May 5th, 1945. Okinawa, Japan. Hacksaw Ridge. Private First Class Desmond Doss crouched at the top of a 400-foot cliff watching the Japanese massacre his battalion. American soldiers were trapped on top of the ridge, wounded, dying, screaming for help. Japanese machine guns, mortars, and grenades were slaughtering them. The able-bodied soldiers were retreating down the cliff using rope cargo nets. The wounded couldn't escape. Doss's company commander yelled, "Doss, we're evacuating. Get down the cliff now. That's an order." Doss looked at the wounded men scattered across the ridge. 75 soldiers who couldn't move, who would die if someone didn't help them. He looked at his commander and said, "No, sir, I'm staying." Then Desmond Doss, a Seventh-day Adventist conscientious objector who refused to carry a weapon, who had been mocked and beaten by his own unit for his beliefs, who had nearly been court-martialed for refusing to train on Saturdays, did something that would earn him the Medal of Honor. For the next 12 hours, while Japanese soldiers tried to kill him, while mortars exploded around him, while machine gun fire tore through the air, Doss stayed on that ridge. He found wounded men, bandaged them, dragged them to the cliff edge, tied them into a rope sling he'd rigged, and lowered them down the 400-foot cliff one by one. 75 wounded soldiers lowered to safety while enemy fire raged around him. And every single time he found another wounded man, Doss prayed the same prayer. "Lord, please help me get one more." This is day 4 of 100 Days of WWII Heroes, and it's the perfect companion to day 3's Alvin York story. York started as a pacifist who became the deadliest soldier of WWII. Doss remained a pacifist and became the most heroic medic of WWII. Both men struggled with the morality of war. Both refused to compromise their beliefs. But they chose opposite paths, and both became legends. This is the complete story of Desmond Doss, the man who went to war without a weapon and became a hero without killing a single enemy soldier. The man who wouldn't kill. Desmond Thomas Doss was born February 7th, 1919 in Lynchburg, Virginia. Working-class family, deeply religious, Seventh-day Adventist, a denomination with specific beliefs about violence. Childhood, the formative incidents. 2 incidents in Doss's childhood shaped his entire life. Incident 1, the fight, age 9. Young Desmond got into a fist fight with his older brother, Harold. The fight escalated. Desmond grabbed a brick and hit Harold in the head. Harold collapsed, bleeding from the head wound. Desmond thought he'd killed his brother. Harold survived, but Desmond was traumatized. His mother showed him a poster of the 10 Commandments with an illustration of Cain killing Abel. She pointed to the 6th commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." Desmond later said, "I realized in that moment that killing another human being was the worst thing anyone could do. I promised God I would never harm another person." Incident 2, the gun, age 13. Desmond's father, Tom Doss, was a World War I veteran with severe PTSD and alcohol problems. During a drunken argument with Desmond's uncle, Tom pulled a gun. Desmond's mother begged Desmond to get the gun. 13-year-old Desmond approached his drunk, armed father and talked him into handing over the weapon. Desmond took the gun, ran outside, and threw it away. He later said, "I never wanted to see a gun again. I never wanted to hold one. Guns killed people, and I'd promised God I wouldn't kill." Religious beliefs, Seventh-day Adventist. The Seventh-day Adventist Church taught, the Sabbath is Saturday, not Sunday. No work on the Sabbath, including military duty. The 10 Commandments are literal, including, "Thou shalt not kill." However, helping others in need is always permissible. Medical work is acceptable even on the Sabbath. Doss internalized these teachings completely, but he also felt a duty to serve his country. Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Doss was 22 years old, working at a shipyard in Newport News, Virginia. His shipyard job qualified him for a deferment he didn't have to serve. But Doss felt he should help. He later explained, "When I saw what the Japanese did at Pearl Harbor, I knew I had to do something. But I couldn't kill. So I decided I'd serve as a medic. I could save lives instead of taking them. That way I could serve my country and keep my promise to God." Enlistment April 1st, 1942. Doss enlisted in the U.S. Army as a conscientious objector requesting assignment as a combat medic. The Army's response, confusion. Most conscientious objectors refused all military service. Doss was willing to serve, even in combat, but refused to carry a weapon. The Army didn't know what to do with him. Basic training, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Doss reported for basic training with Company B, 307th Infantry Regiment, 77th Infantry Division. The problem, from day one, Doss was different. He refused to train on Saturdays, his Sabbath. He refused to carry a weapon. He refused to train in combat drills that involved shooting. He spent Saturdays in the barracks reading his Bible, The Reaction. His fellow soldiers and officers thought he was a coward crazy to trying to get out of service, endangering the unit, a harassment. What happened to Doss during basic training was brutal, physical abuse. Soldiers beat him in his sleep. Someone threw a boot at his head while he prayed. He was punched, kicked, and hazed constantly. His belongings were stolen or destroyed. Verbal abuse, called coward. Daily officers openly mocked him. Soldiers refused to speak to him, isolated and ostracized. Official pressure. Officers tried to get him discharged for mental instability, recommended for Section 8, psychiatric discharge. Threatened with court-martial, pressured to quit or accept discharge. Doss's response, he refused to quit. He refused discharge. He endured the abuse and kept training. When asked why he didn't just accept discharge and go home, Doss said, "I felt God wanted me there. Those men needed a medic. If I left, someone might die who I could have saved. I couldn't live with that." The near court-martial. Things came to a head when Doss refused Saturday training one time too many. His captain charged him with refusal to obey orders, a court-martial offense that could mean prison. Right before the court-martial, the charges were mysteriously dropped. Doss later learned that his father, Tom Doss, the WWII vet, had contacted a former Army buddy who was now a general. The general intervened. But the harassment continued. Most of Doss's units still hated him. Advanced training. Despite everything, Doss excelled at medic training. Top of his class in first aid. Fastest at applying tourniquets and bandages. Memorized entire medical manual, practiced constantly. His physical training was also excellent. He was strong from farm work, ran fast. Had incredible endurance, could carry heavy loads. The only thing he wouldn't do was shoot. Shipping out, April 1944. The 77th Infantry Division shipped to the Pacific. Destination, combat in the Philippines and eventually Japan. Doss's unit still didn't trust him. Most soldiers figured he'd freeze under fire or run away when combat started. First combat Guam, July 1944. The 77th Division landed on Guam to help secure the island from Japanese forces. This was Doss's first combat experience, and it changed everything. Under fire. When the shooting started and men started falling wounded, Doss didn't freeze. He didn't run. He ran towards the gunfire. While everyone else was taking cover, Doss was running to wounded men, treating them under fire and dragging them to safety. The transformation. Soldiers who'd mocked Doss started seeing him differently. This guy is either the bravest man I've ever seen or completely insane. He's running around in the open while we're getting shot at, bandaging guys and pulling them out. Officers noticed too. Doss was fearless under fire. He'd go anywhere, do anything to reach wounded men. Leyte, October 1944. The 77th Division fought in the Philippines on Leyte. Heavy combat, high casualties. Doss continued his pattern. First to reach wounded, treated men under fire, never hesitated, saved dozens of lives. By now, his unit had stopped mocking him. They started calling him the bravest man in the company. One soldier later said, "We'd been total bastards to Doss, treated him like shit, and here he was risking his life to save ours. We felt ashamed." Okinawa, April 1st, 1945. The 77th Division landed on Okinawa, the last major battle before the planned invasion of Japan. This would be the bloodiest battle of the Pacific War. The island, Okinawa, was a nightmare. Heavily defended by 100,000 plus Japanese troops, extensive tunnel and cave systems, fanatical resistance, Japanese orders, fight to the death. Civilians used as shields or killed by Japanese forces. Terrain. Ridges, cliffs, caves perfect for defense. Hacksaw Ridge, April 29. May 5th, 1945. Hacksaw Ridge, actually called Maeda Escarpment by the military, was a 400-foot cliff with Japanese positions on top. The Japanese had turned it into a fortress, the terrain. To attack the ridge, American forces had to 1. Climb 400 feet using rope cargo nets, 2. Reach the top of the cliff, completely exposed during climb. 3. Fight across the ridgetop, open ground, no cover. 4. Deal with Japanese bunkers, tunnels, and caves. April 29th, May 4th, failed assault. For 6 days, the 77th Division tried to take Hacksaw Ridge, climb the cliff, get slaughtered on top, retreat, try again. Casualties mounted. The ridge top was littered with dead Americans. Wounded men were trapped up there, unable to climb down. Doss went up every time, treated wounded, helped evacuation, but the attacks kept failing. May 5th, 1945, the day that made him a legend, dawn. The final assault. The 77th Division launched another attack. This time, they made progress, actually secured part of the ridgetop. But then, Japanese forces counterattacked. Hard. Machine guns, mortars, grenades, hand-to-hand combat. The Americans were being pushed back. 10 a.m., the retreat order. The company commander ordered withdrawal. The position was untenable. Too many casualties. Japanese counterattack too strong. Able-bodied soldiers started climbing down the cliff using the rope nets. But 75 wounded men were scattered across the ridgetop. They couldn't climb down. If the Americans abandoned the ridge, the Japanese would kill the wounded. Doss's decision, company commander to Doss. We're evacuating. Get down the cliff, now. Doss looked at the wounded men. Looked at the cliff. Looked at his commander. No, sir. I'm staying. Commander. That's an order, Private. Doss. Yes, sir, but those men need help. I'm staying. The commander started to argue, then realized there was no time. He climbed down. Desmond Doss was alone on Hacksaw Ridge with 75 wounded men and hundreds of Japanese soldiers. The rescue, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. For 12 hours, Desmond Doss single-handedly evacuated wounded men from Hacksaw Ridge. The system. Doss had rigged a rope sling system, double bowline knot. He'd learned it, working on ships. Created a harness that wouldn't slip, could lower one man at a time down the 400-foot cliff. Soldiers at the bottom would untie the man and send the rope back up. The process. Find wounded man. Apply first aid. Stop bleeding. Stabilize. Drag, carry man to cliff edge. Sometimes 100-plus yards under fire. Put man in rope sling. Lower man down 400-foot cliff. Wait for rope to come back up. Repeat. The danger. While Doss worked. Japanese soldiers were hunting for survivors. Machine gun fire swept the area. Mortars exploded randomly. Snipers shot at movement grenades, landed near him. The prayer. Every time Doss found another wounded man, he prayed, Lord, please help me get one more. Find man, treat him, drag him, lower him. Lord, help me get one more. Again. Lord, help me get one more. Again. Lord, help me get one more. 75 times. The miracles. Multiple times, Doss should have died. 1. The grenade roll. A Japanese grenade landed next to Doss. Before it exploded, he kicked it away. It detonated after rolling off, killing Japanese soldiers but missing Doss. 2. A sniper misses. A Japanese sniper had Doss lined up in his sights. Clear shot. The sniper pulled the trigger. The rifle jammed. By the time he cleared it, Doss had moved. 3. A mortar. Near miss. A mortar landed 10 feet from Doss. It should have killed him. It was a dud, didn't explode. Soldiers who survived later said, Doss had divine protection, no other explanation. The count. Doss's estimate saved about 50 men. His company's estimate, 100-plus men. Official Medal of Honor citation. Compromise, 75 men. The real number doesn't matter. What matters? One unarmed medic stayed on a death trap of a ridge for 12 hours and saved every wounded man he could find. 10 p.m. exhausted. After 12 hours, Doss finally climbed down. His unit at the bottom couldn't believe he was alive. Doss was. Exhausted. 12 hours, continuous work. No food or water. Dehydrated. His hands were bloody. Rope burns from lowering men. Covered in other men's blood, but alive and uninjured. The reaction. Soldiers who'd beaten Doss in basic training. Who'd called him a coward. Who'd wanted him discharged. They were crying. One soldier said, I called him a coward. I hit him while he slept. And he just saved my life. What kind of man does that? May 21st, 1945. Doss is wounded. 2 weeks after Hacksaw Ridge, Doss was hit by shrapnel from a grenade. While being evacuated on a stretcher, he saw another wounded man who needed help more. Doss rolled off his stretcher and told the stretcher bearers, take him first. While waiting for the stretcher to return, Doss was hit by sniper fire. A bullet shattered his arm. Doss used a rifle stock as a splint for his broken arm. Ironic, the only time he held a rifle was to use it as medical equipment. 5 hours later, he finally reached an aid station. Injuries: grenade shrapnel throughout his body, 17 pieces total. Bullet through arm, shattered bone. Lost 50 pounds during treatment. Spent 5 years in hospitals recovering. Arm never fully recovered. Limited use, rest of his life. But he survived. The Medal of Honor, October 12, 1945. President Harry Truman awarded Desmond Doss the Medal of Honor at the White House. Doss was the first conscientious objector to receive the Medal of Honor. The citation excerpts. Private First Class Desmond T. Doss was a company aid man when the 1st Battalion assaulted a jagged escarpment 400 feet high. He remained in the fire-swept area with the many stricken, carrying them one by one to the edge of the escarpment and there lowering them on a rope-supported litter down the face of a cliff to friendly hands. On May 5th, he unhesitatingly braved enemy shrapnel and small arms fire to assist an artillery officer. He refused to seek cover and remained in the fire-swept area with the many stricken, carrying all 75 casualties one by one to the edge of the escarpment. Private First Class Doss refused to seek cover and remained in the fire-swept area with the many stricken, carrying them one by one. His name became a symbol throughout the 77th Infantry Division for outstanding gallantry far above and beyond the call of duty. President Truman's words. When Truman placed the medal around Doss's neck, he said, "I'm proud of you. You really deserve this. I consider this a greater honor than being president, post-war life." After the war, Doss faced significant challenges, health issues, years in hospitals for war wounds, contracted tuberculosis, lost lung and ribs, deaf in one ear from explosions, limited use of arm from sniper bullet, chronic pain, rest of his life, financial struggles, medical bills from TB treatment, lost his farm due to death. Government benefits, inadequate wife, had to work to support family. But Doss never complained. When asked about his sacrifices, Doss said, "I was just doing my duty. Those men would have done the same for me." Speaking and advocacy. Despite health problems, Doss spent decades speaking at schools about standing up for beliefs, encouraging young people to serve their country, sharing his faith, advocating for conscientious objectors, never seeking profit or fame from his service. Marriage. Doss married Dorothy Schutter in 1942 before shipping out. They were married for 48 years until her death in 1991. He remarried in 1993 to Frances Dumont. Death March 23, 2006. Desmond Doss died at age 87 at his home in Alabama. He was buried with full military honors at Chattanooga National Cemetery. The legacy. Desmond Doss proved something important. Heroism doesn't require killing. You can be brave without a weapon. You can serve your country without compromising your beliefs. Impact on military. Conscientious objector policy. After Doss, the military changed how it treated conscientious objectors, recognized that COs could serve honorably, created proper procedures for medic assignments, stopped harassment and abuse, acknowledged multiple paths to heroism. Medic recognition. Doss elevated the status of combat medics. Before Doss, medics seen as less heroic than combat troops. After Doss, medics recognized as equally brave, changed how military valued medical personnel. The movie Hacksaw Ridge, 2016. Director Mel Gibson made a film about Doss starring Andrew Garfield. Renewed public interest in Doss's story. Won 2 Oscars, film editing, sound mixing. Garfield, nominated for Best Actor, introduced Doss to new generation. Accuracy note. The movie actually toned down some events because Gibson thought audiences wouldn't believe the real story was that dramatic. Real events too incredible for film. Doss kicked away more grenades than shown, saved more men than depicted, endured more harassment in training. His other combat actions in Guam and Leyte not shown. The comparison, York vs. Doss, Alvin York, Day 3. Started as pacifist, decided killing was necessary to stop evil, became deadliest soldier killed at 25 plus, captured 132, struggled with decision but made peace with it. Desmond Doss, Day 4. Started as pacifist, decided saving lives was his duty, became most heroic medic, killed 0, saved 75 plus, never compromised belief that killing was wrong, both men. Deeply religious, struggled with military service, faced ridicule and harassment, chose their own path, performed impossible feats, earned Medal of Honor, became legends, inspired future generations. Different paths, Same destination. Both heroes. The numbers. Hacksaw Ridge, May 5th, 1945. Time on Ridge alone. 12 hours. Men saved. 75. Official count. Distance lowered. 400 feet per man. Total distance lowered. 30,000 feet. 5.7 miles of rope work. Times he should have died. At least 5 weapons carried. 0 enemies killed. 0 total Wallop service. Battles. Guam, Leyte, Okinawa, time in combat zones. 13 months, men saved. 200 plus, estimated total. Weapons fired. 0 awards. Medal of Honor, Bronze Star, 2. Purple Heart, 3. Post-war, years in hospitals. 5, lung removed. 1 ribs removed. 5 speaking engagements. Hundreds lives influenced. Countless. The prayer. The most famous aspect of Doss's story is his prayer. Lord, please help me get one more. This wasn't just a prayer on Hacksaw Ridge. It was his life philosophy. One more man saved. One more person helped. One more day of service. One more act of kindness. Doss lived his entire life trying to get one more. The question his story raises, can you be a soldier without being a killer? Desmond Doss proved, yes. Not everyone can do what Doss did. Most soldiers must carry weapons. Military effectiveness requires force. But Doss showed there's more than one way to be brave. More than one way to serve. More than one way to be a hero. May 5th, 1945. Hacksaw Ridge. 1 unarmed medic, 75 wounded men, 12 hours of hell. Lord, please help me get one more. 75 times. The man who wouldn't kill became the man who saved more lives than most soldiers with weapons. That's Desmond Doss. The conscientious objector who proved courage doesn't require a weapon. The medic who ran toward gunfire while everyone else ran away. The hero who kept his promise to God and saved his brothers anyway. Lord, help me get one more. That's all any of us can do. One more, always one more.